Hi, this is Danny Doyle. Don't mind the AC. We're in the heat wave. What else is new? Global warming and whatnot. So, a while ago, I made a video ranking the Fire Emblem games. I have them here in a tier list just because that's the easiest way to make the graphic, but these aren't tiers. It's just 4 in each row because it's easier to see that way. It isn't meant to be my S tier, A tier, B tier, whatever. But one of the things that I mentioned in that video, and I've mentioned it quite a few times since then as well, is that oftentimes what Fire Emblem I enjoy, my taste, will change either over time, over what I'm in the mood for, or just as I think more about the games. I think some of the games, when I ranked them, I hadn't done a playthrough in a little bit, and I sort of was giving them either more hate than they deserved, or sort of the benefit of the doubt, charity over perhaps what I would feel about them on replay. And in playing replays, sort of got to recognize the issues that those games have. And with that in mind, I do want to talk about some of the top tiers, because I've been replaying Path of Radiance in preparation for an upcoming Let's Play series. And holy shit, did I let the nostalgia drive on this one. Nostalgia took the front fucking seat. I am much less high on Path of Radiance than I used to be. The gameplay is just so slow, and it's also really brainless. And I don't think easy is necessarily bad. I don't think easy should be a dirty word when it comes to Fire Emblem stuff. But it just kind of feels like a slog. There comes a certain point where a game is easy, but it's easy in a way that I don't have to think about my actions. I can just sort of go on autopilot. And if that autopilot involves just sitting through a Tellius enemy phase, that's really bad. This was my first Fire Emblem game. And so obviously there's elements of it that at least at a time appealed to me. And I do think, for example, shoving, sort of the big iteration shoving, is great. I love shoving. But nowadays, now that I'm fully ROM hack build, if I want to do a good shove train, if I want to have fun shoving, there are so many ROM hacks that just adopt all infantry can shove. And that's awesome. I'm glad that came from Path of Radiance. But other than that, what are the other positives about Path of Radiance? The base system is pretty cool, I guess, but I think it's not as good as it's sort of cracked up to be. It's definitely better than the Monastery Somniel type deal, but it ultimately doesn't feel super additive. Well, okay, so I guess it is it gives you the opportunity to have those sort of optional story conversations and supports and whatnot without without having to run around the monastery, without dragging down gameplay time grinding end turn in the Binding Blade near the gate or whatever. But so here's the deal: is I think that I do love a number of the characters in Path of Radiance. I do feel affection for some of the characters, and I think not just because of nostalgia, although in some cases it's just because of nostalgia, but the story of Path of Radiance is actually really bad. It's held up as sort of the pinnacle of Fire Emblem storytelling, and I think that that's more because its competition is not that great. But it's an anti-racist story in quotation marks, but it's actually super fucking racist. They make the underclass a bunch of predator animals who are compelled to do, war and violence through their nature. What the fuck? There's a black-faced character. Devdon is literally just blackface. And the way that, even ignoring the ways in which this game brings real-world racism into its fictional world, right? The way that it portrays its fictional racism is also incredibly laughable. It's a super both sidesy story. And I already don't like both sidesy stories because they just do not reflect reality when it comes to stuff about racism. But it's really, really tough to make hey, both sides are in the wrong, sound even remotely reasonable when one side is just like, hey, we've spent centuries enslaving the other side. The other side is like, we don't like it when you do that. We're gonna be violent towards slave masters. Like, what are you doing? I think it's most exemplified, and there's an exchange between Ranulph and Ike, where Ike calls him a slur, by the way. Ike heard his gay boyfriend Soren say that the Lagoos are subhumans, and he's like, subhuman? Okay, I will call Ranulph a subhuman, yes. And Ranulph goes, whoa, you can't call me subhuman, that's a bad thing to do. And Ike's like, oh, I had no idea that subhuman was something bad that you would say. Like, why would I know that? It's not even like a word, literally it's subhuman. It's not like, it's not something that it's not like, oh, I haven't heard of this word before. I haven't heard of this slur. I didn't know it was bad. Like, it's literally subhuman. But it gets worse because then Ranulph is like, oh, by the way, human is also a slur. If anyone calls you human, it's just as bad as you calling us subhuman. Which, like, is just so laughable. It's just so laughable. All this to say, like, Path of Radiance has really, really fallen in my estimation. I probably like it, like... See, that's the thing, is so many of these others have changed that, like, ordering these is gonna be... I'll put it here for now. But don't worry, this ordering will not... there's a reason that I left room over, like, to the right here. The ordering will not stay. That's why the numbers I'm not gonna alter. Sacred Stones is also going down. Like, I think I like Sacred Stones better than Path of Radiance still. Because it has it is definitely easy, and it can be brainless with Seth, but it has that sort of, like, GBA comfort of it. But I think part of why I rank Sacred Stone so highly is there's this thing where, like, if you listen to, I feel like if you listen to, like, YouTubers, everyone talks about, like, GBA being the best era. And, like, I think I just kind of internalized that and was like, yeah, you know, GBA is good. Everyone likes GBA, so GBA is good. I must like GBA too. I don't think I like GBA. I think GBA is my least favorite era of Fire Emblem. And I think playing ROM hacks has highlighted that, like, because a lot of ROM hacks are in GBA, right? But they do so much more with the engine than the vanilla games do. The maps are tightly designed. There's, like, you know, GBA doesn't have skills. GBA has the lamest support system ever. GBA doesn't have any sort of, like, core experimental mechanics, like pair up in fates or, like, the emblem rings or, like, capture or whatnot. Like, GBA is just very, very bland. I'm gonna put it right here next to Path of Radiance for now. As we rearrange things, I'll sort of figure it out. Echoes is also going down. I made this list before I did the Echoes sabotage run. And you want to talk about, like, incredibly slow. It's the same problem as Path of Radiance, where I just feel like this game wastes my time with a bunch of random battles. Like, Path of Radiance doesn't have random battles, but the enemy phases that last 100 years might as well be. Echoes has random battles that are also kind of brainless, like, hey, just put your strong unit, have them kill people, blah, 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 like, Killer Bow, Hunter's Volley. I do like the forging system. I'm glad that Engage took the forging system and put it in a better game. And the presentation is great, but, like, Echoes really did just, like, see Gaiden and say, like, I can make this more misogynistic. I'm gonna put it underneath Gaiden for now. I don't know if that's where it's staying, but just to sort of rub in that I think this is a bad remake, actually. I didn't fix enough of Gaiden's, like, fundamental flaws, and it took away the fun tools. Like, Gaiden is a fundamentally flawed game, but at least it gives you some, like, really fun tools, like the speed ring that ups your movement. Like, it gives you, what is it, +5 movement and capture speed or something stupid like that. Just, like, really, really silly, stupid stuff. Speaking of high movement, I think I was too mean to Genealogy. It's not, like, great or anything, but I was in a really anti-Genealogy mindset at the time. It does have that Path of Radiance problem where you can have just, like, really, really long enemy phases, and I don't find the inheritance system to be utilized to the best extent. I feel like there's usually like 1 or 2 solutions to the best inheritance, but I'm gonna put it like above TMS. I think I'd rather go back to Genealogy than go back to Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I do like Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I think it's like a competent RPG. It just has that issue where RPGs are supposed to be a story-based genre. And I am sorry, but the story of Tokyo Mirage Sessions is god-awful. Like, I beat the final boss and then I quit before the end cutscene because I just did not want to waste my time with that cutscene. There was like, hey, run around and say goodbye to all of your friends, and all these aren't my friends. I don't want to deal with them. These are not my friends. If we're in Spinoff Town, I like Original Warriors better than Fire Emblem Three Hopes Warriors. I do like the Fodlan cast better than the Fates Awakening cast, which was my logic beforehand, but I went back to play some Fire Emblem Warriors because I needed some footage of, like, Frederick beating people up, and I needed some footage of Anna in Fire Emblem Warriors, and I realized that, like, I quit Fire Emblem Three Hopes because I was sick of, like, the stupid running around, like, moving on the world map, and running around the base camp and managing, like, oh, we do the different tradings, we do the different facilities, we build them and all, and it was just like, it was monastery, I genuinely think the Three Hopes base camp is the worst hub. Like, I fucking hate that. I fucking hate that amount of micromanagement, whereas, like, Warriors has, to an extent, that micromanagement, but one, there's less of it, at least it feels like there's less of it, and 2, you do it all through menus, so you don't have to, like, walk around and just, like, even though I know there is fast travel in there, the fast travel just adds an additional step on the menu in between that's annoying. So, I don't know, I'm not a Three Hopes head. The stories of both the games are pretty awful. I do like the Three Houses cast better than Fates Awakening and Arcanea, but from a purely gameplay perspective, which, like, if I'm playing a Warriors game, it's for the gameplay, like, I'd prefer this one. I think Three Hopes made me think that I don't like Warriors games anymore, and playing Fire Emblem Warriors reminded me that, like, no, actually, I kind of do. Like, it's not my favorite thing in the world, but it's a good sort of turn your brain off. Better than turning your brain off for Path of Radiance or Sacred Stones. On the topic of the Three Houses cast, I guess I'll, like, are they better than Thracia? No, I think I still prefer Thracia to Three Houses. Oh yeah, I would prefer playing slow old FE1 to either Birthright or FE7. Those are games that I just find, like, fundamentally flawed in a way that it's not particularly fun. Okay, so Fire Emblem 3, when I made this list, the only experience I had with FE3 was I played, like, 8 chapters of Book 1, and then I played a Christmas Cavalier Book 1, and I played 4 chapters of Book 2. Having given the game more of a shot, I think I'd probably put it, like, here. I kind of want to make a video about FE3 Book 1 specifically, because there's a lot of cool stuff in FE3. It has a lot of, like, really neat quality of life features that never came back. I think it's probably, like, well, so I have it lower than FE11. Let's move FE12 down here. I don't like FE12. I think it's a worse version of FE3 Book 2. I think Book 1 is, like, slightly weaker than FE11, but it's also something that I might go back to more often just because, like, FE11 really, really wants you to warp skip it, whereas, like, FE3, it asks you to warp skip it, but if you don't, it's like, okay, fine. Like, I won't be terrible. I'm gonna move Revelations. Actually, okay, this is gonna piss people off, but I'm gonna move Revelations above Sacred Stones. I'm becoming so much more rev-pilled. Like, and it's not because I don't think Revelations has flaws. I think, again, like, from playing so many ROM hacks and seeing games that, if they do have flaws, are much less pronounced, I think I'm not willing to look past the flaws. It's more, I have significant issues with every single game on this list. So I'll take something that has high highs and low lows for me. Like, there's a reason Radiant Dawn is currently in second place for me, despite the fact that if you're watching the Radiant Dawn reverse recruitment playthrough, there's definitely maps where I just complain about, like, this is a Radiant Dawn moment. A big one is 1-6, the map where you, well, in reverse recruitment, it's not Jill, but in vanilla, Jill just, like, sometimes suicides before you can get to her. And then you have, like, the big route maps. Not, like, obviously part 4 is the big one, but it's not just part 4. There's so many maps that are route that lead me to ask the question, why is this a route map? Like, the volcano map, the one that they took from Engage for Soren, I think that's 3-7. Why is that a route map? Why is 3-7 a route map? That's stupid. It should not be a route map. There's also, like, all of Part 2. The gameplay from Part 2 is just incredibly bad. I also am not a fan of the story of Part 2, but I'm not a fan of the story of most of Radiant Dawn. Like, they had potential to do an interesting, like, we've got two lords on separate sides of the conflict, follow both of them thing. But then they leaned into the racism from Path of Radiance with the Lagoo stuff, and everyone complains about the death contract, whatever it's called. Is it death contract? The blood contract, that's what it's called, blood contract. But I honestly struggle to think of a way that they could have resolved the conflict without resorting to stupid blood contact stuff, because Micaiah is already just kind of a poorly written character. She's just, like, super nationalist, and they could have done something interesting with that. The fact that, like, her nationalism comes from the fact that she's lived in occupied Dane for forever and a half, but they really didn't. They were just like, yes, Micaiah just, like, follows the orders of the king, and she loves her country, even if her country does genocide on the Lagoos. And then they, like, dragged Zehark and Jill and Tyronio down and were like, hey, you know these characters who you, like, loved and fought on the side of good, and, like, Jill went through an entire becoming anti-racist character arc? Like, we're just gonna have them unquestioningly murder a bunch of fucking Lagoos. You know Braum, like, the happy-go-lucky, super loves everyone guy? Yeah, he has a daughter, and we're gonna make his daughter participate in a fucking race war against the people who are, like, rebelling against their slave masters. Well, I guess it's not technically rebelling against their slave masters. It's like but it's their former slave masters. It's like I'm sorry, but Ike's army is so obviously on the side of right that any making the fucking Dawn Brigade fight them over multiple maps before the blood contract reveal, and I'm pretty sure even after the blood contract reveal, like, only Micaiah, Soth, and Tyronio and Peleus are aware of it. Everyone else is just sort of, like, following orders, and I'm just like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Radiant Dawn? I should clean this up a little bit, make it, like, more... God, maybe I will re-letter these tiers, because, like, Revelations and B tier is gonna... Revelations and B tier, maybe that'll be the thumbnail. The TMS above, like, half of the fucking games in the franchise. God, this series is so bad. Why the fuck is my YouTube career based around the worst video game series of all time? Does anything else stick out as, like, particularly egregious here, just in terms of my opinions? I could argue Awakening above the Warriors game, so I don't think so. Maybe, okay, I think oh, no. Awakening above Three Hopes. I think Three Hopes just really gets in the way of, like, a Warriors game should just be mindless and quick, and Three Hopes adds so much faff in between, and then makes the Warriors gameplay divided into very short segments. I understand why people don't like the Warriors stuff, but I don't think adding micromanagement helps address that problem. It takes away from the people who do like Warriors-y stuff. Which, like, I like it if I'm in the mood for it. You know, in effort to pretend that this series is a little bit less trash, I'm gonna put FE3 above TMS FE. Yeah, this I still feel like Sacred Stones and Path of Radiance are getting off too easy, but I also struggle to be like, I struggle to genuinely say that I like, it's not even so much that I really, really like Sacred Stones and Path of Radiance as, you know what, actually, I think I would rather play these games, these sort of like NES, I mean, this is not NES, but like it's a remake of an NES, but I think mostly because like they're just faster. Like, you just quickly get to the action. Like, FE11, it's a very, very ugly game, and it's a game that, like, begs you to warp skip it, but it's over quickly. Like, you can pump out a playthrough in a day if you're willing to, like, warp abuse and stuff, especially on the lower difficulties, but, like, higher difficulties, too. You can just sort of, like, bam, bam, bam. Also quality of life, like, it's got some quality of life advantages that these games don't have, which is a little unfair to them, but I'm being unfair. Like, I'm being mean to these games. I was too nice to them last time. You got off too easy, Path of Radiance, you fucking shit. Yeah, it's a little bit, this is a quickie, little unhinged. I gotta eat my cereal now, I'm hungry, it's breakfast time. Yeah. Comment below if you're mad that Revelations is in the equivalent of B tier. I'm gonna add B just for Revelations. Just for Revelations. Bye. Like, subscribe, or not. I don't know. Maybe this will be the video that makes people unsubscribe. Oh no. Comment your favorite Fire Emblem game. In case you couldn't tell from my comment about a heat wave, this is a video I recorded a while ago. I just repurposed it for this month because I've been really sick lately. I've been sick for about a week and a half and didn't have time to record a Friday video. So yeah, I'm gonna thank my patrons now. Thank you to Michael Kraus, Len, Gameboo, Karosa, Fyrant, Smaz Ruby, Marin McLean, Calamity Callie, Adele, Thaythom, Andu, Reflect, YLO1, Jamie Collins, Mean Jojo, Thick Molder, Arvis, Tailored Muffin, George Grenville, the 7th PM, Gabe the Green, Controlled Aegis, Joanna the Wrenchwitch, Roman Kormanzik, Nick Knack Hammersmack, SUP, Caius Cole, Bell Wenska, Dicyke, Ginger, Root Beer Pants, Queen Eliza, Aerith Emblem, and especially my Jagans, Lilzabeth, Floahy, Autumn Kelsey, and Julia Kyoto. If you're interested in supporting the channel, getting your name in these credits, early videos, as well as a couple of other benefits, there is a link to my Patreon below. But I need to get some rest. My head still hurts. I've been fighting off just a long-running headache for way longer than this should be. Comment code word is Android. Bye.